Awesome. Welcome to lesson number 8. We're going to talk about utilizing your playbook. So again, we have been spending some time talking about gaining clarity. We talked about vision, strategy, leadership values, the structure, the position agreements. And so your playbook is a document that's going to hold the answers to all of these questions. Right? And the point of the playbook is to give you a document that you can distribute to people so that everyone can be on the same page. And so here's what we want to do. We want to help you utilize your playbook. So creating a playbook is really the first step, right? It's just the first step. You're just putting answers to questions in a document. The second step is allowing the clarity that comes from the playbook to infiltrate your church. And so again, we've been talking about gaining clarity. We said when we answer the question, why do we exist? It helps us understand or acquire the vision. We talked about what do we do, part of our strategy, our leadership values, how do we behave, and then our structure, who must do what. And so at this point, you should have answered all of these questions, or you should be working on answering these questions. And so now that you've got all of these answers and you put them together in a document, the question is, what do we do with it, right? How do we utilize this? Okay. So there are ways to over communicate clarity. And when I use the word over communicate, what that means is we want to do it over and over and over again. Remember, one of the key things is that vision leaks. So if vision leaks, how do we make sure that we're constantly filling as vision is spilling out? So number one, you want to share with your key leaders repeatedly. Okay. So if you've got key leaders, make sure that you're presenting them the playbook, you're presenting them the vision, you're reminding them of the strategy on a consistent basis. You want to do the same with your congregation. You want to share this with your congregation on a consistent basis, right? Whenever you have a leaders meeting, you want to reference the playbook or bring the playbook back, bring it to people's attention. You want to celebrate clarity in action. So when you see people doing it or utilizing it, you want to give them the thumbs up. You want to let people know, hey, this is what it looks like when we are operating in alignment or where we're operating out of clarity. You want to add it to your employee reviews, right? So when you're reviewing your employees, take a look at your position agreements or maybe measure them against your leadership values. You want to communicate this in your members classes as you're bringing in new people to the church. You want to talk about the playbook, talk about the vision, talk about the strategy, talk about position agreements or roles and expectations. You want to be as clear as possible to anyone who is joining the organization or joining the ministry. Then you want to also reinforce clarity, right? So we're communicating it, but then we're also reinforcing it. So we're going to utilize this in your leadership training. Okay. So how do you take, you want to take your leadership values and maybe your vision and some of those other elements and communicate it when you're training leaders. You want the clarity to impact your meetings. Okay. So as you get clearer and clearer on what you're supposed to be doing, you can start saying no to certain things and yes to other things. You want to measure clarity in your organization, right? So is your team on board? Does everybody understand their roles? Do they get why we're heading in this direction and what we're supposed to be doing? You want to add it to your hiring process. Okay. So as you're hiring people, right, do they line up with the vision? Do they line up with the values, your leadership values? Do they understand what their position agreement would be? And then also use it as you're recruiting volunteers or you're training volunteers. Okay. Why? Because we want to make sure that everybody is in alignment with the playbook, with the vision that God has given us, the strategy that we have to accomplish the vision, the values that we've put in place, the leadership values, to make sure that everybody's behaving a certain way, and then the structure, making sure everybody's clear on who does what and why their roles are important. All right. That's it for now. In our next module, we're going to begin talking about our assimilation process or our connection process, right? Module 3, we're going to start talking about how to turn guests into fully engaged members. All right. Can't wait to see you then. We'll be talking soon. God bless.